A couple things we know after this weekend's NFL slate of games. The Lions are a half game out of the postseason, and if the Rams lose tonight, the Lions might actually continue to have a top 5 draft pick. We're going to talk about all those topics. We're going to talk about Jared Goff, the team's miraculous, change in fortunes for the last 2 months. Plus, is Dan Campbell a strong candidate for Coach of the Year? Is Jared Goff consideration for Comeback Player of the Year? Is he a Pro Bowl quarterback? Let's talk about all those things and perhaps a little bit more in today's Lions Talk Live. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host, once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy Monday to dive in and watch Lions Talk Live. Maybe you're listening versus watching. Whatever it may be, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. It takes about a second and a half for you to hit the subscription button and perhaps even leave a thumbs up if you would. If you want to offer some comments in the section below, maybe some ideas for future videos, your take on this, that, or the other thing, please consider doing so. But we're going to start off today's Lions Talk Live about a topic that I'd like to address, and that's Jared Goff. Love him or hate him, here's what we can all say. He's playing well enough for us to win, and like yesterday's game, while he did not play exceptional, he also didn't kill us in the game either. He didn't do any boneheaded mistakes that cost us the game. There was no what-if moment where, man, this, that, and the other thing, if only we wouldn't have done that. I will listen to a lot of different, YouTube channels, ESPN, etc. Some people praise him to death. Some people hate him to death. And here's a take I'm going to give to you guys on Jared Goff. So Jared Goff, is he the NFL's best quarterback? In my opinion, no, he's not. Is he the worst quarterback in all the NFL? Again, no, he's not. The problem I have when I listen to some of the doubters, and let's just use yesterday's game as an example. He underthrew Jameson Williams on his route to the end zone. Yes, I would say the ball was probably a yard, maybe 2 yards behind him. It happens. But I'm going to use a basketball analogy here. If you're expecting a player to hit every shot, make every pass, and grab every rebound, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed. Yes, he did underthrow that ball. Yes, there were a couple other ones that weren't great. Is that a reflection of Goff's ability, the Jets' defense, or somewhere in between? Here's my point. In any sport, if you expect perfection from everybody, you're never going to achieve it. Yes, Goff missed on that pass, but he also didn't make any boneheaded mistakes. Yes, the offensive line had some holding calls, one that wiped out a touchdown. Yes, the defensive secondary gave up some 3rd and long and 4th and long situations repeatedly. The point with this being is there's going to be mistakes in every game. So that being said, my opinion of any sporting event is a culmination of rights and wrongs. And while the Lions aren't perfect, in the last 2 months, they've done far more rights than they have wrongs, which is why they're back at 500 and now on the cusp of virtually making the playoffs. If we replace Jared Goff this offseason, who are we going to get who's clearly going to play better? A lot of people point to the draft. The draft, especially for quarterbacks, is a huge, roll the dice. We can all say and hope that Bryce Young, who we won't be able to draft unless we give up a ton of capital, is going to be better than Jared Goff is currently. We could say CJ is going to be better. And I'm going to say this, I really question about that. The other part is whoever you get in the draft or free agency, are they going to be better than what Goff's doing now and do so within the next, say, 2 years? That's the tough part. So enough about Goff. Let's talk about this team. Let's talk about all the pluses and then talk about some things that they could try to work on the rest of this year and hopefully in the playoffs. That defensive front with Romeo Okwara back and James Houston continuing to play out of his mind on defense, it's hard to believe that Houston never played on the team until Thanksgiving. Well, really, Julian Okwara doesn't mess up his elbow and a couple other injuries on the defensive front, would Houston have even gone in? Say this, though. The kid got his opportunity, got his chance. He was given a couple snaps, and he did the most with it. And there was no way after that game that the Lions coaching staff could safely put him back on the practice squad. Why? Because they knew he'd be gone probably by Monday at noon. With all that being said, Houston is doing something only one other player in all the NFL's history since 2000 has ever achieved. There have been a couple other players that have gotten near as many sacks to start their career, but only one other player since 2000 has ever gotten 5 sacks in 4 games. So Houston is on a pace virtually unheard of in all the NFL. The big question, and we've talked about it before on Lions Talk Live, what can he do to become more than just a pass rush specialist? He's going to have to continue to develop. At 24 years old, he's not the youngest guy on the field. He's not old by any means either. But he's going to have to expand his game to be able to do more so the Lions coaching staff can keep him on the field, and that's something that would benefit everybody. While talking about Houston, let's also talk about that defensive line. In my opinion, against the Jets, they played lights out yesterday. In the last 4 games, did you know the Lions defense is the 3rd best against the run in the whole NFL? They are giving up incredibly few yards on the ground. And now that you add Romeo Quarant back to the mix, if his brother Julian can get back on the field, the Lions really are setting up to have one of the better pass rushes in the league. They may not have the most dominant, but I'm going to say this. There shouldn't be a lot of teams that on 3rd and long we don't get some pressure on. You say what you want about Aiden Hutchinson. No, he didn't get a sack yesterday, but he did get a lot of pressures, and he did help free up other teammates to get sacks. Between Hutch, between both Aquaras, between Houston, John Kaminsky, I mean, you're starting to see some real depth and production at this position, which early in the season was kind of left in question. Now, we just got to get that secondary, who did not play great yesterday, to pick it up a little bit. Can we do that this year, or do we have to wait to free agency and the draft? That's something I guess we'll have to wait and see. We talked about at the opening a little bit, Dan Campbell up for potentially Coach of the Year. It's going to be, especially if the Lions continue to win down the stretch here, get into the playoffs or not, as long as they keep winning and pushing, it's going to be hard to really think of another coach who should supersede him. The Lions obviously had 3 wins last year. They're at 7 now. They were 1-6 this year. Now they're 7-7. If they can just get a couple more wins here and potentially make the playoffs, who else can you look around in the NFL and say, yeah, that person deserves it over Campbell? MCDC is a personality. He's getting a bigger and bigger following nationally, which is helping bring in more and more popularity to the Lions. Obviously, the winning streak doesn't hurt. The amount of points we're scoring doesn't hurt. But all that being said, the Lions are doing stuff week in and week out that it's getting attention. And that attention is going to help Motor City Dan Campbell in the potential voting for Coach of the Year. One other stat to throw at you. So there ain't been one team who's got more passing yards against the Jets this season than Detroit. So Detroit, even though it wasn't a great day offensively, did something very few teams do against that that defense of the Jets. One other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was Khalif Raymond. Not the biggest guy in the world. If you watch some of the post-game video from the Lions locker room yesterday, you see Goff standing next to him, and I get Goff is not small by any stretch of the imagination, but it just does go show how small Khalif Raymond is versus other NFL receivers. He's 5'7", maybe 5'8", if you push the hair up a little bit. But this guy, man, he's been cut by, I think, 27 different NFL teams. Joking, it's really 7. He's been left for dead. His career looked over. He, just kind of got picked up by Detroit last year because, to be fair, we had nobody at receiver, especially when the injuries started picking up early in the season. This guy, why can't you root for him? The punt return yesterday, a couple big, pass catches. He continues to produce, and it's clear his teammates love him. That's also a reflection of this Detroit Lions team. Look around them in that locker room. Look around them on the field. They embrace one another, and that's a big reason, in my opinion, why Dan Campbell may not be a great X's and O's coach. That's one thing he does bring. He brings a camaraderie. I don't want to say it, but a grit. He brings something to the team that galvanizes players, galvanizes coaches, and puts them all in a similar path together. They believe in one another, and that's been a big part of this turnaround. So with that all being said, we got another game tonight, Monday Night Football, and then obviously next weekend, every game from here on out, we've said it for a few weeks now, is a playoff game for Detroit, and we all get to do a little bit of scoreboard watching throughout the rest of the season. Lions win this weekend, and we get a couple of the right losses. The Lions, before Christmas, will already be back into the playoff picture. They'll control their own fate for the rest of the way. Can they do it? We'll wait and see. I mean, they've already achieved quite a bit, but if they can get this win down here against the Panthers, those last two games are setting up to be pretty big for the Lions and pretty achievable. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. It's Monday. I got to get back to work, but I did want to dial in and talk to you guys. I get yesterday's video was a little short. It is what it is. Sometimes, life happens. At any rate, I hope you all have a good day. If you have not yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Really would like to by next, let's say next Sunday, maybe get to 640 subscribers. That'd be great. Take care. Enjoy your day. And we'll see you tomorrow on another Lions Talk Live.